What's up, you guys? This is Rob from PSFOREPLAYERS, and today on the Daily Grind, we're going to be taking a look at the Endless Critical Nukor build. Now, for those of you guys who don't know, I did cover this on a previous video, and I kind of made a passing comment saying, listen, we're just going to run the Nukor with pure status. I don't really want to get into all of the crazy builds that go along with it. However, I did want to kind of address the fact that I'm fully aware that this exists. I know how to make it work. And for those of you who don't know what this is a very specific setup that you use for the Nukor. I used to call this like the every other Tuesday builds where everything had to be just right. And this is something you could do fairly consistently, but you do have to have the right loadout for it. Now, the big reason why a lot of people love the Nukor and love this kind of kooky wonky build, or kooky wonky loadout technically, is because of the fact that the Nukor has a 4x critical multiplier, which is absolutely massive. However, it's also paired with a 3% critical chance. So the Nukor on its own, only 3% of the time is going to be popping off that critical damage. However, for those of you guys who understand mechanics, there are definitely ways to push that. So I wanted to go ahead and show you my setup, kind of give you guys a little bit of a, flexible build on it, some things that you might want to change. So as you can see, it's all basically running corrosive and radiation. You can put other things if you want, but the big really important part of this build is to get a little prime target cracker in there because you want to pump up that critical multiplier, right? As you can see, I'm also running sharpened bullets as well, which gives 75% crit damage while aiming for 9 seconds whenever you kill an enemy. Now, this is something that I have thought about swapping out because I'm going to be completely honest with you, the Nukor does kind of eat through ammo on higher level targets, and you'll probably see that in the kind of setup that we've got going on when we take on a bunch of little billies to show off exactly how this works. So you can swap out sharpened bullets for something like ammo conversion. Now, I'm gonna be real with you. A lot of people are going to be like, oh, we got to use the carrier for this. You can do that. If you want to, you can do that. As long as you're using Hero, you're fine. But me personally, I like to run an Adarza Kavat. Now, you guys know I'm big on my Smita, whose name is Aspen. However, today we've got a little bloodlusty, ooh, if I could just get him cycle, a little bloodlusty Rowan going on, and we've got him in his Feral Kavat skin, or his Moonlight Kavat skin, whatever, and I put a little blood on his face too, just to kind of signify how intense this is, because of the fact that the Adarza's Cat's Eye buff, as you guys can see here, this actually grants additive 60% critical chance. So this means that whenever the Cat's Eye buff comes up, what ends up happening is you get a 60% chance to crit, just on its own, okay? On its own. So that, with the Nukor, that's a 63% chance to crit. However, we do have another way to go ahead and force some critical chance as well, and that would be with Hero. Now, this is my current setup for Hero. I'm feeling it for now. I really don't know how much I want to invest into Lasting Covenant. I probably wouldn't use that for normal gameplay. However, in this specific instance, I definitely want to use it, mainly because of the fact that as long as you keep getting headshots, you can keep the crit buff from Covenant up. So as you guys know, Covenant, after you've absorbed a certain amount of damage, whenever you get headshots or whenever you get body shots, you'll get a bonus critical boost, which is also additive. So it gets pretty sexy pretty quick. So I want to go ahead and show you exactly how this performs. I think it's absolutely hilarious because it takes the Nukor, which is not really known as a critical weapon, into something that is pretty much just all crit. It's fun. It's one of those things where it's kind of like, I want to do something stupid with Warframe today. So you go ahead and you do this. Now, as you can see, we sit here, we absorb some damage, and I'm sorry, but poor Rowan is probably going to end up dying. That's just kind of how all of these test runs go. So as soon as this runs out, you can actually start melting enemies. Get your headshots in, because your headshots will give you that bonus critical chance. Because you get the base critical chance off of this, but as you can see right now, these level 155s are just dead. They're just doomed, and it's sad, and I feel bad for them, but it's a hilarious build. and I know that a lot of people are kind of like fond of running with things like this, so I figured that I would go ahead and show it off. Now, as you can see, we also had Lasting Covenant, so what ended up happening is because of the fact that we have Lasting Covenant, we can basically keep this going for as long as we can continue getting headshots. So the whole thing is just kill enemies with headshots, and then you'll be able to kind of continuously add on to the build. This is actually something new that has kind of been added in because of the fact that we just recently got Lasting Covenant, so it's a nice way to kind of keep this fueled. I tested it out a little bit, and I'll be honest with you, on the plains, because of the fact that you've got some travel time, between, you know, different missions, Covenant will probably go down. It's a little bit harder to keep up there, but in standard missions where you're running around, you are just fine and dandy with it. This really turns your hero into an offensive threat, which, I mean, he already kind of is, but, you know, if you just want to keep it going, let's see how long I can keep this going for, because Lasting Covenant really does kind of do a number on this build. Can we just die to the headshots? Yes, just die to that. So as you can see, everything that we kill with the headshot just adds in to the duration of it, but I'm also kind of starting to run low on some of the ammo. So make sure you're picking up ammo. I'm almost thinking that you probably don't need the sharpened bullets for it. And just make sure, though, if you're using sharpened bullets, that if you want that bonus damage, you really want to make sure that you're keeping zoomed in on your reticule. Now, do you need to run the Adarza? No, you don't. If you really do want to use your carrier, feel free to use your carrier for the ammo mutation on this. Me personally, I always run with cats, so I don't feel right without a Kavat in there, especially because they strip off armor and all of that kind of stuff. Can you fuck around with the hero build? Yeah, you can definitely fuck around with the hero build. Same thing goes for the Nukor, but this is kind of like the general idea of how this all plays out. It's really powerful, it's really fun, and the fact that the Nukor has this cool, like, weird effect where it causes enemies to kind of like bubble, almost as if they're being microwaved, like almost as if they're being nuked, is absolutely hilarious. So if you guys haven't checked it out already, definitely check this one out. Now, with that said, let's go ahead and jump into a little bit of gameplay. Alright, now I figured I would go ahead and show you how this works in a live setting, and I'm going to do the thing that I absolutely hate doing, which is live commentary while playing Hero. Now, I don't know how you guys feel about him, but for me, there's definitely a lot of juggling that goes on. There's a lot of paying attention to timers. There's a lot of watching buffs and whatnot. And a part of me is like, I don't like talking and doing this at the same time. Don't get me wrong. I love me some hero action. I love me some hero action, but legitimately, it's just, it can be a pain sometimes. It can be a legitimate pain. So I've got growing power on this build, so I kind of want to go ahead and trigger that and kind of take a little bit of a beating from some of these enemies. Let them shoot me up just a little bit. Let them get a couple hits in, so that I can kind of like stack up the offensive buffs of this. But now that we've got it going, and this is one of the issues that I actually kind of ran into with this, was the fact that my Kavat would kill things faster than I could kill things, and I'm like, you bitch, I'm trying to get headshots. And when you get your headshots, do your best to kind of like aim above the actual head of the enemy. They're mine, cat. Don't stop doing it. I need it. I need it for the thing. And this is also a killer. This is also an absolute fucking killer right here. So we might actually have to go ahead and refresh the buff in a second, because of the fact that legitimately we had to go up the elevator. That's kind of like one of the things that I ran into in the plains as well. But it's okay, because if you get that chance, you can actually go ahead and kind of set stuff like this up. Go ahead and kind of like start chaining everything, and we should be good now to go ahead and grab some headshots, extend the duration, and kind of like run through the mission. But also remember, one of the things that you should be doing is go ahead and give yourself a little bit of an attack buff by using penance, so you can do that. But I always aim just slightly over their heads, because the beam does have a little bit of girth to it. You know, it's got a little bit of girthiness, and that's always nice. However, I always hate these elevator things. These bullshit elevator things ruin everything, and then you lose out. You lose out on everything you've accumulated. Just let me get the headshot. Yes. And then you can continue chaining it over and over again and just adding more and more. Remember, the MOAs their faces are in their stomachs. I know that's kind of weird because the top of their head isn't actually their head, because that's actually their laser beams. So it's kind of like an extension. But as you can see, we basically just keep this buff going forever and ever, forever and always. And we're able to get that large critical damage, unless our cat decides to eat the enemy. Don't do it, kitty. We're trying to keep this build going. Don't get stuck on the wall either. That's bad for your build. So as you can see right here, right in the center, that's where their little Moa's headshots are. So it's always good to kind of keep that in mind. Also for your reticule, oh my god, don't tell me there's like one person like hiding down here, isn't there? Wait, what? Your elevator lied, DE. Your elevator lied and ruined my streak. I'm telling you that right now. I blame... Wait, no, there's still someone down here. There's still someone down here. You jerk. You jerk. But that's kind of like how it feels when you're running around as Harrow. Why? Why? You're lying. You're a sack of lying bullshit right now. Why does the map torture me over and over and over again? This is gonna make me very, very upset. Are you hiding in here somewhere? Seriously. But no, legitimately, I think one of the big issues with Harrow, and I don't think this is an issue with Harrow, I think this is just like a part of his playstyle, legitimately, is the fact that he does take a lot of management to be really, really good at. And it's hard to do it while you're, you know, speaking about things live. So now, as you can see here with that one, we've got 130% critical chance on headshots. And you merge that in with the Adarza's Cat's Eye, and that's a crap ton. That's a crap ton of bonus damage you're doing. And you're able to kind of keep it up as long as you have enemies to kill. That's the issue. As long as you have enemies to kill, you will always be critting. Which I'm a big fan of. By the way, just so that you guys are aware too, you know, no camera tricks or anything. I did go ahead and toss on the pistol mutation on this, just because of the fact that I like to have it there. I don't feel like it's that much of a hit when it comes to critical damage. I mean, this thing already puts out so much damage as it is, that it's kind of like, you know, whatever, no big deal if we miss out on a little bit of critical damage. We could still pretty much kill anything that's on the star chart. Just make sure that you're managing your buffs, which I am definitely not doing, because as you can see here, I forgot to put on penance. But also don't die, which is a big deal for Harrow. Again, more of the juggling stuff that you guys have to kind of keep in mind. But as you can see, he can deal with a lot of things, and he's just fine and dandy with it. Just as long as you're getting all of those headshots to maintain the buff. You know? And that's kind of like what these kind of specialized builds are made for. They're built for kind of a wacky gameplay. I guess you couldn't really call this wacky. It's more like a skill testing gameplay. But really, after like a little bit of practice, especially because of the Nukor's girth, legitimately, you'll be able to hit headshots like no problem. It's honestly just this map that's driving me crazy. I'm like, please. I'm trying to get headshots and then also managing your energy buff. So that's kind of like, again, like I was saying, one of those things where when you're playing live versus when you're playing privately, because before when I was kind of like recording the YouTube stuff, I loved getting like good gameplay shots. I called them like glamour shots, you know? What you would do is you would do your best, you know, to kind of like come up with like all of these cool combat things where you're like spinning and you're like doing some backflips, you're incorporating that into the fight. And it's great for footage, but realistically, especially on stream is like one of the biggest times where it becomes difficult to kind of like talk, pay attention to chat, and play prettily, as I like to put it. Play prettily can be a bit of a challenge. So sometimes you'll see me, especially with some of the more kind of like difficult things. I think when we were starting off with Eidolons, when that first kind of became a thing, when we first started off with Eidolons, legitimately, I was like, I can't talk to y'all. I need to talk to the group, and I need to focus on what we're doing. Now it's kind of like one of those things where it's like a piece of cake. Just because Eidolons can be can be, you know, they're not the most difficult things in the world to take down, just as long as you kind of know what you're doing. And sometimes after a while it becomes muscle memory too. That's what I found a lot when it came to the trials. Like, the trials were never hard, it was just a lot of muscle memory. And as you can see here, right after that combat, we've got 32 seconds back onto, we've got 32 seconds, now 34 seconds, back onto our Covenant buff. So keep that in mind. If you're not doing live commentary, you're probably going to be able to keep everything up and running far more perfectly than I do in this current footage right now. But God believe me, I don't suck this bad when I'm not talking to you guys at the same time and trying to figure out exactly what the next bit of commentary is. But I do have to say that it's kind of like one of those things where you find these niche builds that are really, really fun, and you're like, oh, when you mix it all together, what do you get? It's like all of the sum of its parts come together quite beautifully. Now I'm gonna be honest with you, kind of wait this out, because the one thing that sucks about not having Covenant, like, available in its normal way is you don't get to have that invincibility. But you know, if you're just doing some star chart stuff, or you can kind of keep the heals up, because that's one of the big things, is if you can keep the heals up, you'll be fine and dandy, you know. But sometimes remembering to do everything at once, you know, keeping an eye on the time of the kills, or how much time you have left on Covenant, making sure to keep that up, keeping enemies headshotable. Sometimes, you know, you want to kind of make sure that they're chained down so you can get a nice little headshot like that and extend the buff long enough to get to the end of the mission. So after we started ramping up, legitimately, we were able to keep the buff up the entire time, and as you can see, the loadout works. I didn't even include any other weapons. We could try it next time. I mean, like, if you're on lower levels, you probably don't need to spam the Nukor as long as I do, because I have this, I don't know if you're, I've always said this is the same thing about fully automatic weapons and any weapons that fire really, really quickly. Even though I like the fact that they kill really, really quickly, another part of me is like, how much ammo did I waste just bursting them down? Because it happens a lot. But that about does it for this setup. I hope you guys enjoyed this. And for those of you guys who are like, Rob doesn't know the tricks, bitch, I've been around. I've been around for like 5 years now. Trust me. I know the tricks. It's just that I don't always feel like I need to throw them in your face. You know, it's just, I'm just cool. Just cool and swag. I'm gonna cut it off right there. I'm trying to be too cool. Alright, that's the end of this video, so let me know how you guys feel in the comments below. Let me know if there's any other cool, like, loadouts that have some interesting mixes that you might want me to check out, or that you think deserve a little bit of a spotlight. Toss those in the comments below. And as always, love somebody, hurt nobody, and touch your body. I'll see you guys next time. Bye-bye!